every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. I think it was Seneca that once said that, and I'm saying this. Welcome to High and Low. Good day and good night. Welcome to the High and Low Basketball Show. This is episode number 100 and Clyde, a.k.a. episode number 189. Hall of Famer Clyde Lovellette wore the number 89 in his first season as a Laker back in 1954. Lovellette may not be a household name in 2024, but he was certainly a star in his day, helping the Lakers of Minneapolis to 3 championships, while being named an NBA All-Star on 4 different occasions. He only wore the number for 1 season before switching to 34 the next season, a number he would hold on to for most of his 11-year career. Clyde Lovellette. Again, welcome to the show, the very first episode of the year. Happy New Year. My name is Ike Amaechi, and around here we live by a principle governed by the high and low lives of the world, which means we talk about basketball, especially and specifically the NBA, and we talk about it at any time, anywhere, north, south, east, west, high and low. This week, it's a look back. On this very first episode of 2024, we look forward to the new year, but it's only right to have one final reflection on the year past. A look back at the biggest stories of 2023. And there were numerous narratives, from the most ridiculous to the most shocking. Stay tuned for that. I also have a couple of listener questions. They're very applicable to the episode. Stay tuned for that as well. Before we lock in, just let me check in real quick. Oh,
hi. Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
And always checking in with you, listeners of the show. High and low lives of the world. Hope you're having a great week. Hope you've enjoyed your holidays. Hope you enjoyed ringing in the new year. Thank you for joining me for this new installment of the show, this first installment of 2024. Another week, another episode, more NBA, so of course, more high and low. Things are certainly happening in the NBA. They definitely are. You have questions, we have answers, so let's talk about it.
Let's talk about something important.
And I have 2 questions from listeners this week, very applicable questions, applicable to the topic and theme of this episode. One question is from Cam in Henderson, Nevada. It's about New Year's resolutions, which we can get into when I'm joined by the likes of Hugo the Sheik, the guest Stephen Leslie, Sir Mitch of House Orsatti, and of course Sean Khan, King from Parts Unknown, probably, maybe. We usually drop our resolutions at the top of the year. We did that last year, so consider the answer to that question as pending for now. Actually, believe me, it'll be much more interesting that way. The other question is from Candice in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. It's about the biggest story of 2023. Now, I could answer that now, but basically the next segment is all about the biggest NBA stories in 2023. So kudos to Candice for being like-minded. And I'm going to share those stories right after we take this break. This is a High and Low Basketball Show. We'll be right back.
This week in NBA history, the NBA lost a leader. On the somber day of January 1st, 2020, the basketball world lost one of its most transformative figures as NBA Commissioner Emeritus David Stern passed away at the age of 77. His departure marked the end of a storied journey that spanned nearly 2 decades before he assumed the role of the NBA's 4th commissioner on February 1st, 1984. Under his stewardship, the NBA evolved into a juggernaut, transforming into a multi-billion-dollar industry by the time he departed in 2014. Stern's strategic vision and business acumen propelled the league to new heights, making NBA basketball not only a dominant force in the American sports landscape, but a truly global phenomenon. David Stern's untimely passing left a void in the basketball community. but his legacy continues to reverberate. Stern's impact transcended statistics and championships. It resonated in the cultural fabric of the sport. As we reminisce about the former NBA commissioner, we remember not just a leader, but a visionary who guided the NBA into an era of unparalleled success, setting the stage for the global phenomenon that basketball is today. That was a little something for the NBA history nerds. Now let's get back to the high and low NBA show.
And I'm back. I'm Ike Amaechi, and this is High and Low. We're closing the book on the year already. Time flies. Really does. They say time seems to move faster the older we get, which I absolutely agree with. But listen, hear me out. I have a theory. Just excuse my digression just for a minute. Promise we'll get to basketball. I think the reason it feels like a year goes by much quicker as you get older is because of how your mind perceives the cycle of time. Think of it like traveling from point A to point B, or flying from your home city to your favorite vacation spot, or I don't know, maybe the first time you have to drive or commute to a new job across town. Right? That first trip, first time you make that journey, it's always going to feel much longer than, say, like the 5th, 6th, 10th, 50th trip, where it feels much quicker because your brain has processed all that information. It's kind of normalized all the details of that journey, and it's no longer net new data, right? If your brain was like a computer. The same concept applies to a swath of time. The more years we experience, the shorter that year feels, and that is why 2023 most likely feels like it flew by for many of you. Many things to celebrate in 2023, but there were some things that I'd like to forget about 2023. The one thing in the basketball world that was confirmed in 2023 was the power of storytelling. Despite the opinions expressed on this show about former players being ubiquitous on podcasts and in media, these players brought a fresh perspective aside from the mundane analysis and contrived and obligatory narratives. They shared anecdotes that fans are otherwise never privy to. The funny or dramatic moments that unfold behind the scenes or on the court at an earshot. On a previous episode, I mentioned Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson and the players they usually have on their show to share stories, and they're usually really good stories. One player who definitely emerged as a gifted and hilarious storyteller in 2023 was Jeff Teague. Teague's popularity might be at an all-time high right now. Much more popular among casuals than he ever was when he was playing before his retirement, basically. And it's because of the stories. The bedrock of the league is the game itself, of course, especially for hoopers and basketball aficionados. The layer just above the bedrock would be the stories. And there are a few NBA stories that took center stage in 2023 for various reasons, the most prominent or infamous stories of the year. Starting with, of course, the most disappointing story of the year, which in my opinion was Ja Morant, his suspension and everything else. Here it is.
In a stark and somber turn of events, one of the NBA's most disappointing stories of 2023 unfolded when Ja Morant, the rising star of the Memphis Grizzlies, found himself suspended for 25 games. The suspension came in the wake of a troubling incident involving Morant, a gun, and an assault charge. The incident that led to this suspension took place on an Instagram live session. Morant, known for his electrifying performances on the court, shocked fans in the NBA community by brandishing a gun during the live stream. The NBA swiftly responded, handing down a significant suspension to Morant as a consequence of his actions. The suspension not only deprived the Grizzlies of their star player for a substantial stretch of the season, but also raised questions about the responsibility and behavior expected from professional athletes who serve as role models for many.
Now, what made this story particularly disappointing to me was the unexpected nature of Morant's involvement in such an incident. You know, he was viewed as one of the league's promising talents, and this episode cast a real shadow over his reputation as a star. Beyond the impact on the Grizzlies' performance, the incident prompted discussions about the challenges and pressures faced by young athletes in the spotlight and the need for mentorship and support structures. Now, while the story did make headlines, it was in some ways underrated amid the noise of other NBA narratives. You know, the focus often gravitated toward games, trades, and standout performances, relegating this sad, disappointing chapter to the periphery. But thank goodness, man. Honestly, you don't want the spotlight to be on matters of this nature and just rather focus on the game itself. Yet, you know, it does serve as a poignant reminder that the lives of NBA players extend beyond the court, and their struggles, their mistakes, their vulnerabilities are part of a broader narrative that encompasses both triumphs and tragedies.
All right, you guys, what's next?
The next one, the most underrated story of 2023, in my opinion, of course. This one's a double whammy, a double header, so to speak. Michael Jordan's sale of the Charlotte Hornets and Mark Cuban's sale of the Dallas Mavericks. Now, Cuban's story is more recent, so we'll just speak on that, on the details of that transaction right now.
In a surprising turn of events that largely flew under the radar, one of the NBA's most underrated stories of 2023 unfolded when Mark Cuban, the charismatic owner of the Dallas Mavericks, decided to part ways with the franchise. The $3.5 billion sale, officially approved by the NBA's Board of Governors, marked the end of an era for the Mavericks and the beginning of a new chapter. Mark Cuban, known for his passionate ownership style and frequent courtside presence, had been synonymous with the Mavericks since acquiring the team in 2000 for $285 million. His tenure witnessed significant highs, including the Mavericks' memorable NBA championship victory in 2011. However, Cuban's decision to sell the team to the Adelson and Dumont families, owners of the Las Vegas Sands, caught many off guard. The deal brought forth questions and speculations about the motivations behind Cuban's departure. While reasons weren't immediately disclosed, the move sparked discussions about the evolving landscape of NBA ownership, the financial considerations involved, and the potential impact on the Mavericks' future trajectory.
Now, this story, along with news of Michael Jordan selling his stake in the Charlotte Hornets for $3 billion back in August, these stories remain underrated in the broader NBA narrative. Of course, you know, they're overshadowed by on-court performances and then just the headline-grabbing trades and transactions, and then, of course, the other drama that always usually spins around the NBA. However, the significance of these transactions lay in the symbolism of long-standing owners relinquishing control of a team that had become synonymous with their identities. The repercussions of both transactions are not just financial. They have the potential to reshape the dynamics of the respective franchises and influence the league's ownership landscape. That's very important. In Jordan's case, he held the distinction of being the sole black majority owner in the association, and I think in all of American sports. So it was significant for that alone. I mean, this underrated story added a layer of complexity to the league's overarching narrative, reminding everyone that off-court developments can be as consequential as the action on the hard court. This is a story that will continue to unfold in 2024.
All right, you guys, what's next?
The most shocking story of the year, and there were a few, but this one really stood out. Draymond Green's expulsion. I mean, well, we say suspension, but it felt like an expulsion at the time.
In a shocking turn of events, the NBA witnessed one of its most surprising stories of 2023 with the indefinite suspension of Draymond Green, the heartbeat of the Golden State Warriors. The suspension sent shockwaves through the basketball community. The saga began with a series of on-court incidents, as Green's fiery and confrontational playing style reached a boiling point when he struck Jusuf Nurkic in a loss to the Phoenix Suns on December 12, 2023. While his intensity had been a defining characteristic of the Warriors' success, it seemed to cross a line that led to a breaking point. The NBA, known for its stringent stance on player behavior, took swift action, suspending Green indefinitely.
Now, in my opinion, what made this story truly shocking was the abrupt nature of the suspension and the uncertainty surrounding Green's return at the time. A key figure in the Warriors championship runs, Draymond's absence left a significant void in the team's roster. Beyond the impact on the court, it prompted discussions about the emotional toll of professional sports and the importance of mental health in the high-stakes world of the NBA. Reports suggested that the suspension was accompanied by a commitment from Green to seek counseling, which added a layer of complexity to the narrative. It raised questions about the pressures and challenges faced by athletes in the spotlight and the league's responsibility in supporting their mental well-being. Not to say that Draymond is unwell or has mental health issues, but that was interwoven or woven into the narrative of that story. Now the shockwaves from this story reverberated not just within the Warriors fan base, but across the league, really underscoring the fragility of even the most formidable teams and players. It served as a stark reminder that behind the dazzling plays, night after night, the fierce competition, at the end of the day, NBA athletes are human. They're susceptible to the same struggles, and they can make mistakes just like anyone else, which is what Draymond has copped to after the fact.
All right, you guys, what's next?
The most irksome NBA story of 2023 was James Harden.
In what can only be described as the year's most irksome NBA story, the James Harden drama unfolded in Philadelphia, captivating headlines and testing the patience of NBA fans, especially those in Philadelphia, leaving many people exasperated. It all began with the much-anticipated trade that brought Harden to Philadelphia, marking a significant shift in the Sixers' roster dynamics. The move was expected to elevate the team's championship aspirations, pairing Harden with Joel Embiid in a formidable duo. However, what seemed like a match made in basketball heaven quickly turned into a tumultuous saga. The early signs of discord emerged as Harden struggled to find his rhythm within the Sixers system. His on-court chemistry with Embiid, anticipated to be a force to be reckoned with, fell short of expectations. Reports surfaced of friction in the locker room, with speculation about clashes between Harden and key teammates. The drama reached a crescendo when Harden accused Sixers general manager Daryl Morey of being a liar, insinuating that there had been a broken financial pact between the two, and stated he would never play for Morey again. The incident marked a low point for Harden and the Sixers, raising questions about the impact of Harden's presence on the Sixers' overall dynamics, the relationship between Harden and Morey, and Harden's inability to commit to any one team for an extended period of time. As frustration mounted among fans and team management, the inevitable conclusion came with the reported trade to the Clippers. The swift unraveling of the Harden experiment in Philadelphia left fans irked and disappointed. The high expectations that accompanied his arrival turned into a cautionary tale of how superstar acquisitions don't always guarantee success, especially when egos and team dynamics are at play.
The James Harden saga in Philadelphia was more than a sports story. It became a narrative of unmet expectations, locker room tensions, and the complexities of team chemistry. It left an indelible mark on the 2023 NBA season, and it just reminded everyone that talent alone doesn't guarantee a smooth path to victory in this fiercely competitive landscape of professional basketball.
All right, you guys, what's next?
And now for the most important story of the year. in my opinion. The NBA and social media. In the ever-evolving landscape of the NBA, the most pivotal story of 2023 centered around the seismic impact of social media on how NBA games are consumed. And this is just my opinion. This narrative didn't just highlight a trend. It underscored a fundamental shift in viewing habits and viewers' attention spans driven by the proliferation of highlights on social media platforms across the board. The traditional model of watching a full basketball game from tip-off to final buzzer faced a formidable challenger in the form of bite-sized, instantly shareable highlights. Social media platforms, particularly Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, they became the go-to arenas for fans to catch the most exhilarating moments of a game. The thunderous dunks, the game winners, the ankle-breaking crossovers, those highlights that we all love to consume and really just get our blood pressure going. People flocked to the platforms for these moments as opposed to experiencing them in real time. The sheer quantity of highlights available on these platforms transformed the viewing experience. Fans no longer needed to commit to the entire game. They could consume the essence of the action in a matter of minutes. And this is not a new phenomenon. This has been happening for quite some time, but I feel like it really hit a crescendo in 2023. This shift was fueled by the immediacy of social media, where highlights were uploaded and circulated within moments of occurring on the court. The rise of platforms like TikTok with its short-form video format further contributed to this shift. Users could scroll through a barrage of NBA highlights in a matter of minutes, each video capturing the essence of a game without the need for prolonged attention. The attention span of viewers, especially casuals, it really adapted to this accelerated pace, leading to a redefined relationship between fans and the game, moving fans further and further away from the broadcast, from the live broadcast. Teams in the league itself embraced this trend, of course, recognizing the need to engage viewers in a landscape dominated by quick, shareable content. Social media became the battleground for teams to showcase their best plays, key moments, and the charisma of their players. It wasn't just about winning games on the court. It was about winning the attention and engagement of a digital audience. This transformation wasn't without its challenges. The shift towards highlight-centric consumption raised questions about the depth of engagement and whether fans were missing out on the nuances of the game. Yet, it also democratized the fan experience, allowing even casual viewers to stay connected and informed about the league. And the most important story of 2023 wasn't just about the rise of social media and its relationship with NBA consumption or NBA game consumption. It was about the redefinition of how we are experiencing and engaging with the league. The league wasn't confined to television screens. It lived in the pockets and screens of millions, where the impact of a dunk or a buzzer beater echoed through the digital realm. As we reflect on the stories that define the NBA in 2023, the profound influence of socials, of these social platforms, emerges as the linchpin, again, in my opinion, reshaping the very fabric of how we consume and interact with the game. It wasn't merely a trend. It was a transformative force that propelled the NBA into uncharted territories of connectivity, accessibility, and cultural significance. To close out, I want to quickly acknowledge a few other notable stories from 2023. The most hyped story was everything Victor Wembanyama. Chet Holmgren might be spoiling that story this season, though. More to come in 2024. The strangest story of 2023 has to be Kelly Oubre and his mysterious accident and injury in Philadelphia. I talked about that situation a few episodes back. The most ridiculous story of the year, most likely, is Zion Williamson's weight. Leave that man alone and let him hoop. Every man in his family is genetically built like refrigerators. So let nature take its course, and let's just enjoy Zion for who he is while he can still play at this level. But yeah, man, as we close the chapter on 2023, we look ahead to 2024 in hopes of better basketball, less drama, unless you're a casual fan. I mean, if you're a casual fan of the game, you're probably here for the drama, and hey, I'm sure you'll get it. In that case, by all means, please enjoy the continued sagas of Ja Morant, James Harden, and I'm sure there'll be many, many more. So before we wrap, I just want to say 2023 was a fantastic year for High and Low, and we're looking forward to 2024 with you, with our listeners, with the High and Low lives of the world. So much basketball, so of course there's going to be more High and Low.
Why the f*** I can't shoot three-point shots?
That brings us to the end of this first episode of High and Low for 2024. Hope you enjoyed this one. Remember to subscribe to High and Low anywhere you find podcasts. Got to make us a part of your weekly routine. We're on TikTok. We're on X. We're on YouTube, Instagram. The links are always in the show notes. Once again, music is by Live of the Enjoy Music Group. You can find Live on X. You can find them on Instagram at LYVE. Additional music is by Sonny Rockwell of The Goodness. Sound design is by Vonn August. This is a Vonn+Abrahamm podcast, just in case you didn't know. I'm Ike Amaechi. Thank you for listening to High and Low this week, and we'll talk to you next week.